Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Knot. I'm Scott Freymuller. This is Shelly Netco, my co-host for He Said, She Said. So today we're going to talk about things to do for mental health. And Shelly quickly pointed out that we're drinking wine, so that's one of the first things. And we laughed about it. We said, oh, we're not going to say it. I'm just kidding.
Which is not appropriate.
Well, but it is sort of. I mean, it's okay to have a drink here and there for,
of course it is.
Being social and things like that.
Right.
And, we're drinking wine, big deal.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
But if
it's kind of our deal. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it is our thing now because in the afternoon this is what we do.
In the afternoon,
we have
our afternoon segment.
Have a little drink,
Yes, we do.
after lunch.
True.
It's perfect. Helps digest our food. Makes us a little more fun, maybe. I don't know, maybe not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point is, with mental health, if you are in need of a solution, or you're at a place where you need to make a change, diving into alcohol every day is not the answer.
No, I would totally agree. Or any substance for that matter, right? Like anything every day. We talked about, if you keep busy, if you keep so busy every day that you have nothing else to do,
yes,
then that's not mentally healthy either.
Right.
But let's talk. So I'm on this mission.
I know.
As usual.
Okay.
And so everything that I see, I want to do. Right?
I don't know why I'm getting the image of a Power Ranger right now, but keep going.
Right. So here's the thing. So the other day, first let me say that the past, like a lot of good things come out of relationships too, right? Like one of the things that came out of relationship is I started going to this thing called F45.
Yes.
It's like functional fitness 45 or something,
sure,
right? Everybody there's super cool. It's a fun workout. It's group. We laugh and goof around and give each other shit, but then you're also getting in shape too. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to that every day. Like I get up every morning and I go there at 6 or 7 or whenever I get there. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. And I know those people and we laugh and goof around and it's giddy and you know what I mean? It's great.
Sure.
It's very platonic. Like it's not like a scam session or anything like that. But it's like a great environment. It's super healthy. Mm-hmm. And I love it. I love it. So a couple of my buddies there, this one guy, Kevin, he's like, hey, you want to try yoga? And I'm like, F no. Out of the box, But I changed my mind. I know. Because I'm like, dude, I'm not flexible.
A hard no without even a question?
I can't barely bend over and touch my toes, Okay. So he's like, no, you got to go. You got to try this. Listen. He's talking me into it the whole time. I'm like, oh, no, I'll think about it.
Okay.
So the next week he's like, hey, so you were going to go to yoga? And I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's try it out, right?
Right.
So I go. It was gnarly, but it was fun.
Right.
And when I walked in, that whole dynamic, it's people that are, they're healthy, they're grounded, they're present, and yoga really made me like be present. It was cool. It was like Zen-y or something.
It forces you to be present because of the breathing, because of the moves, the
You've
poses.
Done it, right?
I've been doing yoga for a few years.
So this is new to me, right? So I'm in the infant stages of yoga.
And by the way, we had this conversation the day you were going to go to yoga, and there was some stuff going on that you were processing and everything, and then all of a sudden you're just like, F it, I'm going to yoga. Like we were having this like deep conversation
about something, about the show or something.
No, yeah, it was something. Yeah. No, it was something that was going on. You were processing, and it was like, I need a shift. I'm going to yoga. Just like you snapped, but it was because he had planted that seed, and the seed was like slowly germinating and watering.
I'm going to yoga,
and you're just going to yoga.
Yeah, it was awesome too.
But people don't realize yoga is actually something that they can do for mental health.
For sure. I didn't realize it either.
Right.
We should actually get somebody like from a yoga studio.
Yes,
like,
we should.
What do you call them? A yogini or something?
Yogi.
A yogi?
Yeah.
What's a girl? A yogi?
I don't know.
Anyways.
I like to use
like
asexual terms.
A yoga
like,
practice.
Like an actor is now an
practitioner?
actor. It used to be an actress and an actor, and now it's just an actor.
Now it's just an actor.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like
whatever.
asexual
so
terms
a yogi?
are good.
Call it yogi?
A yogi.
Okay. So we should get like some cool yogi to come in here and talk about like the purpose of it and like where it came
purpose
from.
And the benefits and yes.
But it was incredibly beneficial. I sweated my ass off. It wasn't hot yoga either. But so I walk in and the lady goes, do you need a mat? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I needed one.
You're like, do
I
need a
mat?
mat?
Oh, you can rent one. I'm like, I'll rent a mat. Okay, so I rent a mat.
Right.
And then she gives me this towel and she's like, are you a sweater? And I go, I don't think so. Like, I mean, I sweat, but I'm not like profusely.
Sure.
Right? Oh. I was in there and I shit you not, I think I could have freaking made it like a little pond. I could have filled up like a play pool.
Yeah.
It was stupid.
People think yoga is just like,
oh my God. And it was
sitting with your legs crossed.
Yeah. But it was I was mindful. a little bit of fitness. I felt really good after. It was really cool. It was like detoxing sort of,
Right.
because you sweat out like all the crap, and then you're like, and you're doing your blowing things or whatever, your breathing
Sure.
thing. I'm not making fun of it, but I actually don't really know.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, go into this pose and do this thing. And I'm just like looking around, I'm like, okay, what's that look like?
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then like put your foot up and shit. And I'm like, whoa.
Sure.
But it was awesome. I loved it. So from a mental health perspective, absolutely. So the other thing I've been doing is on Tuesday nights I go to Pilates, and they have.
Why do you laugh?
Because it's funny. It's funny to me, right? Because the reason why I say that is because I'm, Nate's home, my son's home. He's like, Dad, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I want to go to Pilates. He's like, really? I go, yeah, I'm going to Pilates. Seriously. I'm like, dude, I'm going to Pilates. Like, shut up. It's not that big a deal, right?
Right,
Because it's so funny because he's like, dude, you race motorcycles? Like, you're crazy.
going to
You're going to go to Pilates?
Yeah. He's like, what's next? Ballet?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I will.
I understand.
I'll learn
It's
how
good for you.
to stay on my toes.
Pirouette, sure.
So I go to this Pilates class, and it's the same type of thing, right? It's mostly women, and they're super nice. And they're very, like, we just sit and talk, and the girl next to me just got engaged, and we always kind of, like, go back, because on Tuesday nights at 7, I go back to, like, I sit in the same spot, because, like, it's my secure place. It's
Of
like my
course.
movie, like my pen.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and the girl over here, I think her name's Stephanie or something. Anyway, she's getting engaged, and the girl over here just started dating some guy, and then this
Love
girl
it.
over here is married, and then this
Yeah.
girl, it's funny, and they all chit-chat, and
Yeah.
then I screw around like I always do. I'm,
Yeah.
like, joking and shit, and they give this thing, it's called, like fascia something. You know what I'm talking about, 'cause you probably did that too, right? So you roll this ball on your foot, and it hurts, and then you roll like this roller on your...
break it up.
Yeah, it's like gnarly.
Yeah.
But it feels so good after.
Right.
And you're in this room, and
It's
there's
like, it's like when we go through pain.
yeah.
You
It's
have
like...
to break it up.
Kind of, yeah. It's really cool. And they have this, like this blue light around the top, and they like lower the lights in the room, and it's all like, you
Yeah.
know, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm not making fun of it. I'm joking around because I'm sort of uncomfortable being in there.
Right, but the other thing about what these two situations you're describing is that sense of community too,
Totally. All
which
three.
is extremely important when it comes to needing help with your mental health, right? Because sometimes when we do need help, a lot of people respond with isolation because we don't know what to do.
Right.
We're fearful. We already feel alone, and then we build on that sense of aloneness because that's our comfort zone. So we stay there. We shut the door. We pull the blinds. We don't answer our phone. We don't text people back.
Yeah.
And we build a bigger problem than what we already have. And it's only because we don't have the answer or we're afraid.
Right.
And what you're describing is exactly what people need, but it takes a lot for some people to get to that point.
But it's not like for me, it's fun. Yeah, I know it's good for your mental health
but
too,
you're
but
also
it's fun.
you're also in a fun place right now. You're in a happy, fun,
Yeah.
good place. Now, could you have done this 6 months ago?
Probably. I would have done it. I would have probably done it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I probably would have.
Yeah.
Like, I do shit
Okay.
all the time.
Yeah, no, I know.
But I mean, I
get
don't
that.
know. I would probably do it, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe not yoga.
That's what
But
I was thinking yoga.
yeah, yoga's pretty extreme for me, but it goes back to that, why would I say no? I've never done it.
Sure.
So why
Well,
would
now
I not
you know
try
that.
it?
That's the mindset you're in
Now it's cool. And they have this thing coming up. It's on top of one of the malls, and you like paint yourself up. It's like glow in the dark yoga.
Oh, love
I'm
it.
gonna do it. I'm
Love
gonna do
it.
that too.
Love
I'm not gonna take any pictures of that or anything. Like I'm gonna go, so people don't,
Sure.
I don't want to be known for that. You
Sure.
know what I mean? Like
No.
an orange dude with
Yeah, I understand.
stretching and doing like
Right.
downward dog or whatever on the roof.
Right.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it looks cool.
But in line with yoga, other things people can do for mental health, and a lot of people don't understand this one either, is meditation. Because when we have things we're going through, one of the most powerful things we can do is disconnect our mind from where we are. And that's what meditation does. It stops that loop of thinking whatever we're trapped in.
Right, right. So meditation, I just started doing that too. I'm trying all these things so I can understand, so I can
love
talk
it.
about it.
Yeah,
right?
I love it.
So I have this room in my house, this empty room, and I go in this room and I bring a pillow, and I bring my phone, and I like put a timer on it in case I fall asleep.
Which
for
is
like
good,
25 minutes, right?
because you could fall asleep easily.
Yeah, and I think about just anything that's bothering me or whatever, and I do the why thing, and then I'm like, why? What is this about? Like, why am I? And I actually think it through without any other thing bothering me, and it helps huge. It really helps a lot, right? You're smiling at me like I'm crazy.
Well,
But it's cool.
because the idea of the notion behind the idea behind meditation is to
I'm not getting the point, am I?
not have thoughts.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
It's to disconnect and maybe just concentrate on
What do you think about then?
the sound of
Nothing?
the air conditioner
Really?
or the sound of your breathing. And and do it for as long a period as you can. If you can only do it for like 2 minutes, then fine. Try again the next day.
I use it for like a decision-making thing.
I mean, that's good, but
It's cool.
But when you completely disconnect in meditation, what comes out of it is receiving an enlightenment. But it's not a focus on your problems.
Does my face look blank right now?
Yeah.
I need to work on
It
that.
looks a little blank.
All right, maybe I'll read about it or something. But yeah, I didn't. So you go totally blank, and you don't think about anything.
And just allow.
For how long?
As long as you're into it. I mean, ideally, if you can do it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, some people say an hour.
Really?
Yeah, I've never
To
been
think
able
about
to do
nothing
that.
for an hour.
Well, what happens is as you disconnect, then you become a receiver. So it's the art of receiving, like thoughts, like things come to you that aren't your problems, if that makes sense.
Okay. Like solutions and ideas.
Or
and
creativity,
things,
or like, oh my gosh, just
I
like
didn't realize that,
something
or
you never,
whatever.
yeah,
Okay.
a new perspective, something you never thought of. Yeah,
That's super cool.
yeah.
I'll work on that. I'll work on that more. There's this other thing I'm going to bring in. We're going to talk about martial arts too, because that's another thing that's very mental, like any sport is. I think really anything is mental. It has a mental aspect to it, right? Like
Sure.
any kind of motion or anything, or thoughts or meditation or yoga or
Sure.
whatever, there's always a mental aspect to it. And I think there's always a mental benefit to that too. But one of the things I was going to say is martial arts is huge. And not only from a mental perspective and like a not forcing things perspective and controlling your emotions and just being relaxed and all those kinds of things. This guy, Scott Tenenbaum, I worked with him for a long, long time. And he's a 5th degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. And he was actually one of the original MMA fighters back when it was like Vale Tudo, just barehanded. And really, really neat guy. And he always talks to me about breathing. Especially, like when he's way bigger than me, so he'll like sit on me and I can't breathe, or you know what I'm saying? Not sit on me, but whatever. He'll
Right.
like pin me or whatever, and I
Right.
can't breathe. I'm like, think I'm gonna fucking die.
Right.
And he's like, man, you just gotta breathe, just relax, just breathe, just
Right.
relax, and it's like shh, getting that air out, and like a boxer, it's all about breathing
Sure.
and stuff. And one of the things we talked about one day is he told me this like 3-6-9 thing. And you breathe in for 3 seconds, hold it for 6, and then breathe it out for 9. And that's incredibly relaxing. You're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, when you're sitting there, like I was just sitting here now and my shoulders were up and I'm kind of like, and then I just did that and I just did this and I'm like, wow, that's a totally different feeling, and you can do that with breathing too.
Right.
Which is also yoga.
Absolutely.
Like that you breathe in a lot of different sports that way.
Yes.
Destry was talking about motocross. And you get this thing called arm pump from hanging onto the handlebars so tight. Your forearms get so pumped up with blood, you can't close your hand. You can't hang on anymore. And one of the ways to fight that is to breathe, to actually, use your breath and breathe and relax and all that kind of stuff. And then you're not hanging on so tight, right?
Sure.
You hang out more with your legs. And it's just like this, it's a Zen thing. I don't know, a balance thing, whatever, but it's keeping like that mental, physical aspect matched, but also keeping like your mind in control of your body instead of the reverse.
Well, and I think we underestimate the power of what our breathing techniques do, or our lack of, right? And people in anxiety are very shallow breathers, and that raises your cortisol, your stress hormones, and everything, and it changes everything, and then you can't sleep at night, and
Right.
it's such a snowball effect that so many people don't know.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of just hidden indications for people when there are things like, oh, I can't sleep. Okay, well, why can't you sleep? It's just like, let's talk about that.
Right.
And well, I'm awake at night and I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about this. And it's like there's always underlying things if you pay attention. It's much like you talk about a lot with people are always telling you who they are.
Who they are, for
Your
sure.
body is always telling you what's going on. You just have to pay attention to not the surface things, but
Right.
just like get underneath of it,
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah.
So, with the breathing, there's also breathing techniques you can do to pump up your energy. It's like
To raise your vibration and
yeah,
stuff.
raise your it's like I forget what it is, but it's like 4 in and fast, 2 fast out. I can't remember what it is. I was doing it recently when I was studying some stuff, and it was pretty fascinating, and it worked. And it was like I found some days where I was just at my desk and I was exhausted and I was almost falling asleep. I was doing some stuff on spreadsheets and everything. I was like, oh, I'm going to try this. And it just
works.
like worked. It was like a shot
Yeah.
of caffeine, you know.
Yeah.
But people we don't know and we don't pay attention to like just the power of our diaphragm, right?
Yeah, well, the power of your breath is amazing.
Your breath,
Yeah, you can totally change
it's
it.
like taking some oxygen, and it's going to help your mental health because you're just like, bam, I'm awake, I feel good.
Yeah,
You know?
we were talking earlier about like how your body can control your mind, and how you need to take that back over.
Right.
And one of the ways to take that back over is to start with breathing.
Sure.
Do that 3-6-9 thing and be like, okay, hang on a second here. Like I'm in control of my body. My body doesn't determine my mood
Makes
from
you
a
present.
habit or
Yep.
whatever, right? And it calms you down,
It's the
right?
beginning.
Yeah, so it just brings you kind of back. Oh,
Sure.
all right.
Sure.
And that time to take a breath is it's almost like, have you ever heard that method, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? There's a I forget her name, but there's a gal that talks about this method of like you're laying in bed and you're procrastinating, right? And you say, okay, I'm gonna get up on 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I get
Mel
up.
Robbins.
Yes.
Yes.
She's really cool.
Love her.
But that's a method to make yourself present and cognitive,
Yeah.
and get your brain back
Yeah,
engaged
you literally
again.
have 5 seconds
Yeah,
for
because you
procrastination
can't not do
to
it.
do it or not do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really cool.
Yeah,
Like
and
you're
forget
laying in
your
bed
snooze. There's no
yeah,
snooze.
and you're like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh shit, I gotta get up.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that mental aspect. So breathing, and then it can help with meditation, which clearly I don't get yet, but I'll work on that. And then it's with every sport. It's with martial arts, and that's a sport. But you know what I'm saying? Yoga.
Sure.
Is that a sport? What is that? A practice?
Yeah, it's a sport.
Is a
yeah.
practice?
Well,
or a
I mean, it's
sport
a
or
sport of
whatever?
sorts. I would say it's a sport. I mean,
Yeah.
you get a physical workout from it.
Or like somebody brought up today, hiking. I'm not a huge hiker, just because I've broken so many bones, and I can hike, but I can't go for 20 miles.
Yeah.
But it's you're outside, you're walking, and what's interesting too is like with hiking or cycling or whatever, like your feet walking on the ground is almost soothing. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It like relaxes you. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
And-
Well, and what's funny is I've talked to people about hiking, and my response is always, I don't really hike, but I will definitely climb someplace to watch a sunset, which to me then is pure gratitude, which definitely improves my mental health. So it's just, for me, it's this whole package. You
Yeah.
know?
Being outside does.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize this before, but water is my deal. That's my jam. And I didn't realize how soothing water is. I have a boat or whatever, we talked about it a little bit, and get down to the lake, that's my jam. I love that. And then me and my, previously we were talking about getting kayaks or whatever. And I still haven't got a kayak yet, but I'm gonna, because it's cool, especially now, because it's really too cold to surf. I get cold now, when as you get older, you're thin. I don't know, your thing gets thinner. But no, like the water's amazing. I love it. Like it's just absolutely amazing. Like paddling or just being out in the boat, and it's like so, Or did you ever go on a cruise ship and you get an inside cabin, it's super dark, and the ship moves just a little bit, and you can sleep like no other. You're like done. That's amazing. I love that.
I think what we're talking about too is just things we can do to improve your mental health and just your state of mind.
Or maintain it.
Maintain it.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about is the opposite of what you're doing now if you're struggling, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're struggling and you're sitting on your sofa every day and
Watching TV.
you're watching 5
Binge.
hours of binge,
Yeah.
whatever, and you're not talking to anybody and you're not going out and you're not doing anything in nature and you're not getting any physical exercise or doing anything at all to improve your physicality, then the opposite of that, anything that's the opposite of that is going to improve, right?
Of course, yeah. Of
So
course.
I think that's the conversation.
It is, but there's so many different things to do, right? There's also the mental aspect. We talked to Destry today about riding motorcycles, and I've ridden and raced for a long time. Clearly not at his level, but just that element of not only the physical aspect, but the mental aspect, but then also like the preparation. Because you're staying occupied, whether you're like some people work on cars or restoration or painting or whatever, but that feeling of accomplishment is huge too. Like working out's a feeling of accomplishment, right? Like going like I go to the F45 thing, it's amazing. It makes me feel good. It's community, and you take that, and that's a huge benefit too, just like yoga or anything else. But then you have the results of fitness, and you probably look better, and you wear a smaller size pants or whatever. But then you go to, you're working in the garage, or a woman could work in the garage too. I didn't mean to be gender specific about that, but you're fixing your car, you're painting, you're working on stuff. That's hugely beneficial mentally
Right,
too.
it's self-satisfaction.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And then you look on the other side. I was talking to a gal. We were at the ULA event and there's a girl there that she made art things.
Oh yeah,
like a shrink wrap thing.
The
or
necklace
something.
thing, she gave me that.
What was that? A plastic shrink?
Yeah, it was shrink wrap plastic.
She does that for mental health.
Right.
Like she has a whole program where you go and do arts and crafts for mental health.
Right, art therapy.
Yeah, art. Okay, there you go, art therapy. And then Amanda's Hope does the same thing for kids.
Right.
Like where they play
Play
in
therapy.
sand and play therapy. That's so cool. So there's so many things you can do, right? I think it's just.
It's like what I was describing with my baking therapy back in the day.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's therapy too.
I was baking for therapy.
But you're staying active and you're engaging your mind in
Absolutely.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so.
But I was working my problems out as I was doing it, and,
Sure.
and which is what the same thing as art therapy, play therapy. It's like
Yeah.
you have whatever it is on your mind, and as you're doing these things, you're working it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're actually consciously thinking about working it out, though.
Right.
Right. You can't just. It goes back to that alone thing. You can't just be alone without intention. Like you have to do the work and like, hey, I'm going to go to counseling and here's my truth and all
Sure.
those things. And this is all part of that mental health process, right? Like along with counseling, there's fitness, there's, making sure that you're actually meditating or attempting to, like I do,
Sure.
staying active, blah, blah, blah.
Journaling.
Yeah, journaling, writing. That's cool too, because then you leave something behind, right?
Right.
If it's
Well, but
not like a journal, you don't want people to share it. But like if you were to write, or because writing is another form of therapy too.
Another, yeah. But actually journaling, if you're struggling and going through things, oftentimes it helps just to unload things that you don't want to either burden someone else with or you don't want to share it with.
Yeah.
But you really need to get this shit off your mind.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a very powerful tool.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is you get that. Some sports give you that adrenaline, like martial arts does, riding motorcycles does, kind of surfing does, like wakeboarding, water sports, skiing. That's another one that's amazing, right? That is such a family-oriented sport that I wish I'd done long ago. About 4 years ago, Nate's like, "Hey, Dad, let's go skiing." I'm like, "I don't really like being cold. I don't know anything about snow, except for that it's cold, right?" So we went, and he picked it up right away, and it's super fun. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, wow, what a great family bonding experience. Because regardless of if you're better or worse or whatever, at the end of the day, y'all end up at the bottom of the hill, and you ride the lift up together, and you can socialize and chat, and then you can have fun and do your thing on the way down. I'll see you at the lift, or you all go together, or whatever it is. But it's a really, really cool family sport. You're outside. It's very social. It's fun, and it's just a great environment with like-minded people. But it's a great family sport. I wish I would have done that a long time ago with my son, but he's the one that got me into it, which goes back to that yes-no thing. Like if somebody offers you an opportunity to do something like that, like well, at least try it once. Like, let's go check it out.
Or say, why not?
Yeah, let's go check it out. Let's go see what happens,
And I think that's one of the challenges for people who might be struggling or going through things.
Right.
Is the automatic no is the tendency.
Yeah.
And I was there, in the last year and a half or so, and especially last year when I was going through that period when I was sick and people kept asking me to do things, and I kept saying no, I don't want to go because I might not feel good.
Right.
So I would say no, so I didn't have to turn them down later or tell them I couldn't because I wasn't feeling well. And then I had to just shift it and get myself to a place where I started accepting invitations. And it had been a while because I had been sick, and I had to just, kind of rework it and accept invitations and then go, okay, it's going to be okay. If I don't feel good, then I'll tell them I can't go. But I really became like, I was pretty much a hermit because I'd been sick for a long time. Then I was feeling bad, and I was afraid I was going to disappoint people by saying no. And this whole thing just started to take over my mind, and I just, once I realized what was happening, thank God I had the self-awareness. But I think that's where a lot of people are now, especially after 2020 and having a lot of isolation. I think a lot of people are in a much more struggling phase or state than they've ever been before. And it's not as easy as it should be.
Yeah. Another thing too is communities, is sporting events or a concert or things like that. Those are all great things too, as long as you manage the other things going on like the alcohol and stuff like that. but that's a great thing too. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a huge sports fan. I respect it and I get it. But for me, I would rather go do something than, like, I'll never sit on the couch and watch sports.
Right.
It's just not me. Which goes back to, in our dating thing, we said, find things that you actually really like to do. Don't do things to be with somebody.
Right.
But at the same time, there's also the, hey, would you want to go do this? And I would most of the time say yes. I probably wouldn't say yes to, hey, do you want to go sit at the bar for 4 hours and watch football? I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I'll do that here and there, but that's not really my jam, versus like, hey, do you want to go do like a Ragnar run or something, or like an obstacle course? Like, hell yeah, that's my jam, dude, or jumping out of an airplane or something. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
But this is also part of that thing where, it's self-exploration, it's finding out what you really like and what your deal is. And that's part of being alone too.
Right.
Is doing some of those things by yourself. And that goes back to, being on your purpose. It goes back to, like if we talk about being alone, and I think I'm essentially like alone right now, right? Like I don't have anybody at my house. I'm not dating anybody. I'm not sleeping with anybody. Like I'm just like alone. And that's powerful. And what I'm learning about that is that when you're in that space, you know exactly what you want. Like you're not in any kind of a want. You're not in a want. Like you're in an abundance mindset. Like you don't need anything, and it becomes easier and easier and easier as you go, right?
It definitely becomes easier.
Yeah, and the cool thing is like when you're on your purpose and you're doing your thing, like we're doing this show, we're doing research for the show, and we're learning, and I'm consulting with counselors, and I got my business going, and I go ride a mountain bike, and I go work out, blah blah blah. When you meet somebody who's doing those things, like when you're not looking and you're on your purpose, that's when it happens. You can't look for it. You know what I mean? Because then you're in lack, right?
True.
So one of the things, like we talk about doing things for your mental health, if you're doing things that you like to do, you're probably going to meet somebody that is similar, I would imagine. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying.
It makes sense.
But that's part of it too. What's some more things? Like there's a ton of things you can do that are super fun.
I mean, we kind of glazed right over the obvious, which is therapy and those kinds of things. So those are important.
I think that's kind of
given.
obvious, right?
That's a given.
Yeah, I mean, and we clearly that's important.
It's a given. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we go back to therapy and counseling, and that's just hey, making you aware
Those are the fundamentals
of your reality.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And then doing things to improve it or change it.
Right.
Based on what your goals are and your truth. Right?
Exactly.
Being self-aware. That's also a way to become self-aware too.
It is.
Here's an interesting thing. I like to cycle too. Anything really that like has wheels on it, I like. But I did road biking for a while, and that is the most unbelievably soothing thing you could ever do. It is so cool. Like hearing your tires on the road, it's like this hum. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just like it's low impact. You kind of go fast. You feel power, like when you pedal the bike, like it. You know what I'm saying? It's like cool, and it's just incredibly soothing. It's like really good for your mind because I mean, once you get dialed into it, you're on the bike for an hour or two, and that is sort of meditation. That's actually, there's somewhat meditation.
But and there's so many different forms of, and I think meditation can be just something that brings you that sense of inner peace.
Right.
You're like, I like to go. I live up by the lower Salt River, so I'll just take a chair, go sit there, take music, and just watch the water go by slowly, and I'll do that for hours.
That's cool.
And to me, that is an activity, but it's not an activity, but it's such an activity. You know what I mean?
That's like a meditation.
It's a
thing,
meditation,
right?
yeah.
And I think it goes back to that water.
Yeah.
Like water is so soothing and calming and healing. It's just amazing.
And it makes me disconnect. It takes me away from wherever I was, whatever I was in, wherever my head was. And it changes things. It gives me a new perspective on everything.
Right. Or like Destry was saying, he takes his dirt bike out. He's probably riding it right now. Rides up a canyon, sits on a mountain for a while and just kind of chills and thinks about things. That's amazing, right? So you're doing something super fun to get somewhere, whatever, beautiful or whatnot, and kind of soak life in for a little bit,
Or photography. I do that.
Photography's cool too. I have a buddy, his name's Roger, and he goes to Lower Salt River all the time and takes pictures of these birds. I didn't even know there was that shit there. But there's like
unbelievable.
birds and all kinds of
Unbelievable.
cranes. And it's really pretty, you know, it's
beautiful.
really, really neat. So he's doing all that kind of stuff too. And that's really cool.
But when we do that, it's because we're so grateful for what we see. We want to capture it, and then doing it is the process of just like, you know, increasing that gratitude and joy and everything.
Yeah.
So that's what that is for me. It's just
Yeah.
always is increase, you know, just improving mental health.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What's it? Somebody told me once too, ceramics. You know those ceramic stores?
Yeah, the creation.
Where you can go and like make your ceramic thing or whatever. I heard that's really cool too. Like art,
Yes.
painting.
Oh yeah, I paint.
Do you? That's cool. So I mean, those kinds of things are really cool too, because you're actually making something, and I'm sure you're in your mind present doing that too.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a creative flow, and I think anything that's a creative process, which could be almost anything.
Right.
It's just that it's coming from your inner being. You know, you can't force yourself to write a manuscript or paint. You know, it's just something that comes to you.
Yeah.
So I think anything that comes from that place is definitely healing.
Yeah, and music too. That's when I forgot, and I've never really. Well, I say never really. I've never played the guitar or like any musical instrument, and I've always thought that was really fascinating, like the piano.
Yeah.
I'd love to learn how to play the piano. I think that would be so cool.
Yeah.
But that's super soothing. Even for me, just to listen to music, it changes your mood. But I can't imagine being able to play it and create it.
Yeah.
That would be really neat, you know. That's another one I think is really powerful too.
very
Music
powerful.
is super cool.
It's very powerful.
And I noticed too that in the yoga thing they have these bowls, and they hit them with the
sound
thing, and it
bowls?
goes boo, it like makes weird humming things.
Yeah.
That's cool too. That's really soothing. The guy did that. He like rolled this thing
Yes.
around it, and it made this humming sound. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I gotta get one of them. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, and it's at a certain frequency.
Frequency or something. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So music, we have.
That
man,
changes your vibration.
Yeah, you know what? So I have to say something about that. When people hear that, I used to hear that all the time, like, oh, your vibration, or oh, this, or oh, that. And I was like, whatever that
Yeah, but
means.
we're energy.
We are energy. So
of
my
course it
point
makes
is
sense.
that I didn't really get that until
You thought it was woo woo?
I thought it was woo-woo. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I'm open to everything, I think, generally.
Okay.
But my point is that I didn't really grasp the concept of what that meant. And what it means at the Scott level is that if you're negative, you're like at a lower level, and you're going to attract a lower vibe, whatever that may be, people or things or where you're at, whatever. And as you increase your vibration, right, or your thought process or your mood or your heart, like your heart's open, you increase on like this happiness level on the scale of joy or whatever it is, of love, and you become just more abundant and more appealing and more accessible and approachable. And you know what I'm saying? I know it's not that, but that's what it is to me. As I grow and as I become healthier and I work on all this stuff, it just brings me up to a different level of awareness and acceptance and, you know, no judgment, things like that, which is really cool. And that's what a lot of this is about too, you know, staying active and doing these different activities and painting and music and, you know, all these different things. And that's really what it's about, like finding your jam, you know. Camping is one that I love to do. Motorcycle riding and things like that. Like sleeping in a tent is cool. That's fun. Why do you look at me like I'm crazy?
Because I think you're crazy. I would never sleep in a tent.
Oh, well.
So
You should try it sometime. It's pretty cool. But
maybe
no,
I
that's
should.
cool. Yeah, maybe you should. And here's one too, sailing. A friend of mine sails. Like he's actually like a shrimp boat captain. And
I've been
he can
sailing.
sail. And I always thought that would be fascinating to try too, but I don't know anybody that has
It's
time to
very
teach me.
quiet.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And then my other thing is flying. That would be cool. Like learn how to fly a plane, like a little, you know, Cessna or something. Brrr, cruise around. That'd be fun. Hot air balloons, paragliding, crazy stuff like that. You know, I think paragliding is a little on the extreme side. So is wingsuiting. You know, the thing where you jump out of a plane, you have like a wingsuit on.
This is not going to increase my mental health. It's going to make me want to run into
I don't know. I'm just
traffic
saying.
with a
I'm just saying.
blindfold
There's
on.
stuff you can do. You know, but and then you know the other thing too that we should talk about is the like shooting. That's seriously mental, or archery, ski, things like that. You know, marksmanship type sports. Those are incredibly mental, I did that for a really long time too, and there's a lot of science to it, first of all, but there's also like, there's a lot of breathing in that. There's a lot of like relaxation in that. There's a lot of emotional control, or not control, but management, right? That's a really, really cool deal too, is just that aspect, you know. I'm trying to think of some other stuff, but there's so many things that, you know, if you made a list of all the things that you could potentially
good
do,
list.
that's a good list of stuff. Like try any of those things. I'm sure you'll find 1 or 2 or 10 that you like.
Right.
Right.
There's no shortage.
There's no shortage, yeah. You know, the other thing I never did is sewing, like making clothes or whatever. But I mean, I would try that too. What the hell? Or like crocheting.
I crochet.
What's the deal with that? Like, why is crocheting so like relaxing to people? People love that.
I don't crochet like most people do. I just make those big blankets. But I started doing it because, I don't know, my daughter and I went and took a class and it was really cool and we liked making blankets.
But is it like relaxing? Is
No,
it like?
Yeah, you use your hands and it's repetitive and I don't know.
And you're making
cool.
something, so you get
and you're
that.
making something cool and yeah.
That's so neat.
Yeah, it's a creation process once again.
Yeah. You know, the other thing is, for me, I like my home, like my base, to be in order. And for some reason, like cleaning is soothing to me because you get immediate gratification, right? Or just keeping
things like that are cathartic. You know,
Yeah.
as you're doing it, it's mindless. It's like, you know, if you've got problems on your mind, you just like go. And
It seems now that the more I'm sitting around, the less happy I am.
yes.
I would think. You know, like, so I'm at home and I'm like, I don't even turn on the TV anymore, hardly ever. I would, you know, to relax at night or whatever. Like if you're in a relationship or whatever, you watch a movie and hang out and whatever. But I think for the most part, you kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm always doing stuff. So when you're at home, like working on the house or messing around or fixing this or that or messing around the yard, like that's super cathartic. That's amazing.
I agree.
You got anything to add or did I talk? I mean, I know I talk most of the
Yeah,
time on this
you
one.
pretty much covered the list.
All right, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
We're back to drinking now.
I mean, other than, I don't know, being a train engineer, I think it's the only thing you might have left off.
We did leave off sex, but we're not going to talk about that because I'll get all red-faced and shit.
We
so,
did leave that off.
Yeah, we'll work on that later.
Yeah, but it is good for mental health.
Yeah, it is. Duh. I mean, come on. All right. Everybody.
It also increases your lifespan.
It does? Oh, shit.
Now you got to read up about sex
I don't even
increasing your
wanna-
lifespan.
Yeah, we'll make sex
Meditation increasing your lifespan.
its own topic.
And how to meditate.
Yeah, we'll just make it its own topic.
Okay, good. Let's do
Everybody, I'm trying to shut this down.
it. Go.
Everybody, thanks for watching The Knot. Shelly Netco, Scott Freymuller. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Bye.